Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to be doing my best of books for 2017. We're finally doing it. It's finally happening. I do apologize that it is super late, but here we go. So I'm just gonna start with, these are in no particular order, and they're also not ranked. These are just the books that I enjoyed so much, books that have stuck with me, books that I feel like I've really gotten something from. And let's just start with the first one that, you know, never would have thought this would be in there. Excuse me. This is I Am the Messenger by Markus Zusak. This book took me through. Any videos I have related to any of these books, I will have linked down below, because I do have some individual reviews as well as more in-depth thoughts in different wrap-ups. So I will list that down below if you would like that information. But this book took me through the ringer. This was a book that was surprising because for so long I was not hating it, but I was not enjoying it. I was uncomfortable. I was confused. I was just a lot of things, and I just never would have thought that it would have made it. But what I can understand now, being on the other side of that, is that you have to go through that journey to appreciate where the writer brings you, where the writer brings the character. This book is just so beautifully done. I think it almost has a poetic edge to it, and I just enjoyed it so much. I can't even believe that I'm saying that, but I really enjoyed this book, and it's an experience. It's just an experience. I absolutely loved it. Another book that I want to mention. Now, this book I'm mentioning because it's sarcastic, it's funny, it's different, and it's like lighthearted. It's not to be taken too serious, in my opinion. It's My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brodi Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. I just want to meet all of them and hug them. This book just makes me smile. I had such a good time reading it. This is one of those books that I would reread, and I would love to reread it this year in 2018, because I just had a good time. Like, if this book was turned into a movie, this would be one of those movies that I would constantly replay. I just loved it so much. I almost wonder if there's an audio version of this book, because I think I might enjoy it on audio. If you don't know, this book is about Lady Jane Grey, who's about 16, and she's about to be married off to a total stranger. And in real life, she gets beheaded, and she's only like the queen for like 6 days or 7 days or something like that. But they decide to take this story and basically just completely change it up. There is magic in here. There's whimsy in here. There's love interest in here. It's fun. And like I said, I think it's a bit sarcastic. And I just love the characters. G will forever be one of my favorite characters of all time. So I absolutely love this book. Oh, I didn't tell you what this book was about, but I kind of think it's better if you go into this book not knowing what it's about. What I will say, though, is it's about a guy who is at a very interesting point in his life, and we kind of see what takes off from there. I don't know what to say about this without spoiling anybody, so if you want to see more, definitely look the books up on Goodreads. But yes. Okay, moving on. This book, oh my gosh, this was one of my top reads of the year. And I have to say that I think my reading year actually started off a little too strong, because then, I don't know, like, I just had a really strong start to my year, and I feel like that really made me critical of everything else I read. But hands down, one of the best books I read this year. This book is a complete testament to why I read widely, to why I don't discount certain genres, to why I'm not somebody who like bashes YA. You know, it's just a testament to why I read and why I hold the beliefs I hold about reading, and why I feel that a story, regardless to how it's labeled, can hold power to change us, to make us, you know, look at ourselves, to make us be reflective. This book, can you tell that I just feel so strongly about this book? I feel like I will probably read anything this author writes. She's a new author to me. This is Does My Head Look Big in This by Randa Abdel-Fattah. Oh my gosh. I read this at the beginning of the year, so what I remember is this book is about a teenage girl named, I hope I'm saying her name right, Amal, and she's Australian Palestinian, and she's living in the suburbs of Melbourne, and she makes the I'm just going to read back from here. She makes the biggest decision of her life to wear the hijab, the Muslim headscarf, full time. In spite of her parents' gentle warnings and the ostracizing that is sure to come from the other kids at her snobby prep school, Ahmad's decision springs from a deep sense of faith, and she is certain, well, almost certain, that she's ready to take this step. This book was so many things. I loved it so much. It was entertaining. I actually learned a lot in this book. It made me reflect on my own biases. It made me want to learn more about this culture. It's a culture that I'm very interested in, but I have to be honest and say I don't know a lot about. And so this was an interesting way to start to look at that. I loved its own voices. It just was so good in so many ways. Even within this book, there's representation within representation. I just absolutely loved it. Like, loved. Feel so strongly about it. Okay, now I'm only holding one of these books up because I was too lazy to grab all three of them, but I actually read this entire trilogy this year in the summer, and so this book will always represent summer to me. I remember just being balled up in the bed with this trilogy, having the time of my life. And I actually remember that I actually walked to the bookstore to get the next book because I didn't know if I would love it, and then I was mad that I didn't just buy all three of them. So this is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I would probably read anything Jenny Han ever writes. I really like Jenny Han's writing. I mean, like, it is my type of writing when it comes to this particular genre. She writes so well. I feel like she writes very fleshed out characters. And I just loved it. I love the family dynamic in this story. The story is about a girl. Her name is Laura Jean, and she writes love letters to guys as her way of like getting over them, right? Or when she feels like she's getting over them. But the thing is, it's almost like I don't know, it's like a self-expression, but they're not letters that she means for them to get. It's almost like journaling, but she writes a letter to these guys. And one day her letters get out, and then it gets real. And we just follow from there, and we follow her family. She has an older sister, a younger sister. It's just it's a really cute trilogy, but I also think there are quite a few lessons embedded in here. And I could see different parts of myself in the different sisters. I also could see different parts of my sisters in the different sisters, so that was fun. And I really enjoyed it. You see, I'm just smiling ear to ear. I just really enjoyed it. Like, yeah. Now that I think about it, I'm like, you read some pretty good books. And then once again, I'm holding up this book. I didn't even read this one this year. I read this one last year. But this year I read 2 through 6. I'm almost done with 7, but I didn't make 7 in 2017. It's actually sitting over there, and I will be finishing it up soon. But my favorite book in this series definitely is Prisoner of Azkaban. I don't think 7 is going to change that. Prisoner of Azkaban all the way, book 3. But I love Harry Potter, you guys. Like, and eventually I probably will do a whole video on why I personally love Harry Potter. I did not grow up with Harry Potter, but Harry Potter for me represents so much. I started reading it in my master's program, so that will always be a connection. And it just came to me at a point when I really needed it. And I feel very strongly about Harry Potter for a lot of reasons. Like, Harry Potter just came to me at the right time. I remember being so lonely in my master's program, being so far away from my family, and just being so comforted by this series. And I will forever love this series. I will forever reread this series. I love it so much, like so much. And I actually want to get some type of Harry Potter picture or something to have in my house. Like that. I feel very strongly about this series. So I love it, but I just grabbed the first book just to mention the fact that I read books 2 through 6, and my favorite ones were definitely I really enjoyed book 3 the most, but I do have some book discussions and some wrap-ups on some of the other books. But yeah, wanted to mention Harry Potter. And then my last 3 books, they're actually all hardbacks, and the first one is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is probably my #1 read of the year. Angie Thomas writes amazing. I actually follow her on Twitter. And I don't know, I feel like I'm getting to know her on Twitter, and I really like that. But I really enjoyed this book. If you don't know, this book is loosely based around the Black Lives Matter movement. And I just think she wrote it was just so amazing to see such representation, to really feel like I could see myself and my family in this story. But more than that, I think it was just a very well written story. I think her writing is just very good. It's very imaginative. She writes very fleshed out characters as well, but they're also very complex characters. And they have layers to them, and I could appreciate that as well. It's not one dimensional. And I just think this story was just so, it just was so well written. Like, I can't get over how well she writes, and for this to be a debut novel, like, it just debut away because she wrote so well. I'm trying to think if there's any trigger warnings that I want to give. I mean, it's a sensitive subject matter. This book definitely made me cry. It also made me laugh. You know, it also made me roll my eyes. It made me do a lot of different things. But it is a sensitive subject matter, so keep that in mind going into it. YA or not, it is a sensitive subject matter, and I think she handles it so well and so intelligently, and I just can't wait to see what else she writes. Like I said, I follow her on Twitter, and I will be reading anything she writes. I don't care what it is. That's another thing about this year. I feel like I just found some authors that I mesh well with, and I just want to dive more into their works this year. Another author is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I can't believe I like this book, because this book is basically insta love, among other things, but there's some insta love up in here. And now, I'm not somebody that has a problem with romance. I actually don't mind reading romance. But I was like, I'm not going to like that. I talked about this in my April favorites. I love this. I'm telling you, from the moment I started reading this book, I was like, this is me and you. Me and you. I love Daniel. Eventually, you know what I want to do? A video that I keep updating on, like, some of my favorite characters. Daniel will, I won't forget him. He is one of my favorite characters. Like, I just love Daniel so much. I just love this book. It was so sweet, and there were a lot of, I think, bigger themes wrapped up in this story. I think this story really touches on compassion and learning from others, among other things, and it just... And it is romantic. It is romantic, you know. Now, the extent to which you believe it or think it could happen, or, you know, your take on romance. But it is romantic, and somehow it works. The other unique thing about this story is that it takes place over the course of a day. The other thing I would say about this book, now this book, in my opinion, it's just pure poetry. It really is. And she weaves in poetry pieces and stuff in here. And just the way she weaves the story together, the way she weaves in other characters, if you appreciate poetry on any level, I think you will at least appreciate the poetic element to this book. And also, it doesn't hurt that this cover is the bomb. I need to go to sleep, y'all. It's late. But I'm just saying, we don't think this cover is amazing, because I think it is. And then the final book, I also am so close to finishing the other one. I probably have like 20-30 pages left, but I didn't, because I had told you guys in my December CBR that that's what I wanted to read. But you guys, I went back home and I left all of my books, so I didn't get to read any of the books in my December TBR, so I'm finishing them up now. And one of them was the second book in this duology. And this is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Once again, let's talk about an amazing story. Let's talk about a super well written story. Let's talk about a story that is going to grip you from beginning to end. I really loved it. I was not let down by this. I know for some people this was total book hype. It was not, but also because I really just didn't buy into the book hype. I personally picked this series up because it's a story about a heist. I don't care what else you say to me. Say it's a story about a heist and I need to be down. Also, somebody had described this as like Ocean's 11 meets something else. And I love the Ocean's 11, 12, that whole movie franchise. I loved it. And I also love movies or stories about heists. I don't know why, but I just do. And so I absolutely loved it. Leigh Bardugo is also an author that I really would like to read more from. This is the first thing that I've read for her. And like I said, I'm finishing up Crooked Kingdom, and I was going to put it in here, but I wanted to be fair because it's not finished, but I'm loving it. But it's not finished. So that's why I didn't put it in here. Also, it does not hurt, you know, if we're just going to talk shallow for a second, which indulge me. The pages are black and it's just so beautiful. It looks gorgeous naked. Have you guys seen it naked? Because it's sleek and it's black and just, and then the red, just, the marketing team, I appreciate you. I know that's not about the story, but you know, it was an experience and I can appreciate you for that. But this book is about 6 social misfits, if you will, outcasts, and they are trying to pull off what is deemed an impossible heist, and we follow that journey, and it is, I mean, it's entertaining and gripping from beginning to end. I absolutely loved it. I wish I would have read it sooner, but I'm glad I did read it in 2017, and I would highly recommend it. If it at all sounds like something you would be interested in. And that is it. That's all of my books that I absolutely loved in 2017. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know if there are any books on this list that you enjoyed or that you didn't enjoy. As always, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.